Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and this is video number 7 in this React 21 course. And in this video, we're going to start going over React Router. Okay, this is going to give you sort of like allow you to have sort of the feeling of having pages. So that way, if you want to like have people sort of like see different pages in your app, this is kind of how you would do it. Okay, now I'm going to be going over specifically React Router 6. So again, in this video, we're going to be going over React Router 6. Because again, a lot of change, there's a lot, and keeping that in mind, because depending on the video you watch or documentation you read, React Router 1 through 5 has a very different way that it works than React 6 and above. And React Router 6, right now it's November 6th, it came out 2 days ago on November 4th, 2021. So keep that in mind as I do the lesson. Because right now a lot of the stuff out there, a lot of the blogs and videos on React Router 6 or React Router are going to be referring to the old version, not the new version, which can be very frustrating during these sort of inflection points. So let's go in there and install React Router 6. npm install React Router DOM. That's how you install it. Since it's the newest, again, whenever you install something, it's going to install the new version. So it's going to install React Router 6. Unless you specify otherwise. So unless you're watching this video at a later time and there's a React Router 7, but I think React Router 5 was like around for years before they upgraded to 6. So I anticipate probably if you're watching this video, you're still on React Router 6. Okay, okay, cool. So I've installed React Router 6, and now what's going to happen is that to set up React Router, the first step is the way router works. And I'm gonna get rid of this example thing from one of the earlier videos. But the way React Router works, it uses a feature in React called context, which we'll go over in a separate video. And what context does, it acts like an elevator for your state or for data in your app. So instead of you having to pass data like up, down via props and say, okay, from this component to that component, and from that component to this component, from that component to this component, it does allow you to create this sort of central place to store your state and then easily distribute it across your app. Basically, React Router uses this context to deliver the data about what the URL is in your browser. Okay, so literally just to kind of show you what this is, the result will be, because my website here, Dev Nursery, uses React Router. Notice how the URL changes if I click on video tutorials. So you see like right there, /learning. If I click on cheat sheets, /cheat sheets. So the URL changes, but also the visual changes, almost like I'm going to different pages. But you're not. You're actually on the same page. It's just a different component. I'm swapping out which component you see, and I have different components that represent different pages of my site. That's what React Router is going to kind of do for us. It's going to allow us to have that kind of interaction. Okay? So what you do is the first piece is we need to deliver that data across the router, the component tree. And the way we do that is we use this browser router component, but we usually rename it to router. So browser router as router means I want to import the browser router component, but I want to call it router. And then from React Router DOM. So that's the library we're importing it from. And then you're just going to wrap all of this stuff, React Router, and then I'm going to import that there. Save. Cool. So now I've enabled router. That's going to allow all the other router components to work throughout my application. So then I head over to app.js, and I'm not going to need this control to-do list component anymore. I am going to bring it back main. I'm going to bring back header. Do I have a header component anymore? Let me go back. I think I messed that one up earlier. Yeah, I did. So let me just copy the stuff from footer again real quick. Update header. 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 There we go. So we have the header component. So let me import header and footer. Header, footer, Is my footer component broken? No, that should be fine. So let's see here. Footer. And then I want to import some stuff from React Router. So import, I want to import routes. So routes is a component that allows us to bundle several routes, which means like different URLs and what they're going to render. And then we're going to have route, which allows us to specify one route. Okay, cool. And that's going to be from React Router DOM. Okay, we'll come back to that. So essentially what we're going to want is to have header and footer. Okay, and I'm going to do an npm start. Let's start our server so we can see the page. Let's get rid of these extra tabs. Cool. Let's just make header and footer something a little bit more like, so we can really appreciate what's kind of going on here. So let me just first, let's make this header a thing. Okay, so I'm going to say header. So we're going to start off with an H1 that says like my website. And then we're going to have a nav bar. Okay, I'm not going to write the CSS in here. I'm just going to use the index.css to do this. So I'm just delete all this CSS in here. Okay, and I'm going to say, and for the nav tag, that I wanted to have a background color of black. Okay, and I wanted to have a height of 200 pixels. Okay, and why am I still not seeing it? I should see it now because I've given it some height. So let's take a look here. Div header, and there's the nav tag, display block. It's not picking up on these styles. Oh, because I'm putting it in, no, it's index.css, so why not? Because we are styling the nav tag, so it should see these styles, display block. That's fine. Let's make it display flex for later. Just want to see if that changes. Let me see if maybe I just need to refresh the page. Yep, there we go. I just need to refresh the page. So let's make that 100 pixels. Okay, and then I want the H1 inside the header. I want that centered, so text align center. Okay, and this is probably still too big, so let's make this like 80 pixels. Okay, and then give it a bottom margin bottom of like 30 pixels. Oh, I got rid of the curly bracket at the bottom. Not bad. Okay, cool. So that's neat. Now let's do something similar with the footer. Okay, so I'm gonna head over the footer. And I'm just gonna get rid of the text inside footer and just style footer in a similar way. So nav footer. Cool. So that kind of designates like sort of the top and bottom of the page. Oh, tiling manager. There we go. There we go. Cool. So now let's create a few components to represent like different pages. So let's create a, what we usually do is we'll create a folder called pages. So whenever you're using a component to represent a different page of your website, you create a pages folder. Nope, a new folder. Pages. So let's create a new file called main page or home page. And then we'll create another file called other, for like other page. Okay, and I'll just copy the stuff over from footer. Or where's my other components? Oh, they're over here. Footer. Control-C. Home. Just make this. Home. And then I was going to fix this over here. Get rid of the footer. Make this a main tag. Okay. And that represents home. Now I'll do the same thing for other. Other. Okay. Nice. So now I can import these over at app.js. So I will import home, import other. Okay, and now those are imported. So now what I can do is that I want to say that in between my header and my footer, I'm going to set up some routes. And this is where they'll appear, between my header and my footer. Now what will appear depends on the routes that I render. So I'm going to say when I go to route, the URL that triggers this route, which will be just the main page, and then the element that gets triggered will equal home. And that's how you write a route. So that's going to render home. And so you can see home shows up on that page. And then I'll put another route in here. And it will say this one's going to be for /other. And then this one will be the other component. Okay, so now if I change the URL and I go to /other, and see other shows up instead. Okay, neat. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so I can create different routes for different URLs. Now, how do I switch? How do I create links between these URLs? Well, let's work on that. So let me go over to the header, and inside the nav, we'll create a couple divs. Div, and this one's going to say header home, and then we'll create another one that says other. Okay, and then I'm going to try to make those visible. So let me go change the CSS. Okay, so for a nav that has a div inside of it, those divs should have a font color of white. So we should be able to see the text now. Good. And the font size, we'll make it 2 EMs. Say those are nice and big now. But let's align it by dealing with the flex part. So justify content. I'm going to want that space between, so they're kind of space around. Okay, so now see now they're nice and aligned, and I want to line them up horizontally as well. So align items center, so that way they're vertically centered. And cool. So now I have these like 2 spots on this like navigation bar. Okay, that's my header component. Now, if I want to make them links, you can't use A tags, because A tags would refresh the page, which would break router. So what you're supposed to do is you have to use the link component from React Router. Link from React Router DOM. Okay, and now what I can do is I can wrap these in a link. So I'll say this is a link to /. Okay, and then I will then put the closing link component over here. And then I will just do the same with other /other, and then copy the closing link tag, paste that there. Okay, and see like now these are clickable. So if I click on home and see both of these, like the URL is now changing, and so does the component, because you can see the text over here is changing. So it works. I can switch between multiple pages. That's pretty cool. Okay, but sometimes you need to like, sometimes you have a function where you're doing a bunch of other stuff and you need to push them to another page, but it wouldn't make sense to use a link tag. Sometimes you need to, in the function, push them. So the way you would do that is that there's a hook inside of React Router called useNavigate. Okay, and with this hook, you can get the navigate function. So I would just say const navigate equals useNavigate. Okay, and now what I can do is, instead of using this link tag, let's, for example, I could say on click, when you click on this button, instead you're going to run a function that might do some other things. But what it's going to do, one of the things it's going to do is navigate you to a particular page. I'm going to navigate you to /other. Okay, so even though this doesn't look like a link because it no longer has the underline anymore, if I still click on it, so let's say if I go home and I click on this, it'll still change the URL. And see, it still works. So there's two ways to get to navigate people. I could either wrap things in a link tag, or I can use this navigate function, and that'll also push people to a different URL. But to get the navigate function, I got to use this hook, useNavigate. The last cool thing I want to show you, okay, let's make one more page component. Okay, and we'll call it uFile. We'll call it, param.js. Control C. Okay, what I can do first is just set up this component. Control Alt other param. Okay, then I'll go to app.js, import the component, import param, and now I'll make another route. And what I can do is I'll say the /param, but then I'm going to do /:first/second. So what this is going to do is that anytime I have a part of the URL that has a colon in front of it, that's what you call a param. Okay, and that param is a variable, and we can get access to those variables. So again, I'll just use the param component as that page. Okay, let's just add another link in the header. Okay, so /c, and then this one's going to navigate to like say param /param /cheese/bread. So in that case, those variables will be filled. The first will be cheese and second will be bread. Okay, so let me just go take a look at app.js. So param first second. So now if I click on this, see, it takes me to param. I'm on the param page, but I thought I said I have these variables that I can access. Well, how would I access them? Well, the way you would do that is you need another hook. Import use params from React Router. So I would import use params, and just kind of like I did with like the useNavigate, I could do const params equals use params, and any params that are picked up on that URL will be in this object. So now I could, let me just console log the params object, console.log params, so we can see it. So see right there, first, second, bread. So see, notice that this part of the URL is the part that we labeled first, and this is the part that we labeled second, and I'm able to get variables from that. Like if I were to change this to vegetables, okay, see, second becomes vegetables. So it's picking up the URLs from the variables, and we fetch those variables from here using this hook. Okay, and then I can use them. I can just be like, okay, I want main to show params dot first and params dot second, and that's what's going to show up on the page. And see, cheese, vegetables. Now if I were to change this part of the URL to chips, now it's chips, vegetables. And that's going to be really useful for like grabbing dynamic data from an API, or just like knowing which index from an array you need to grab to create like a show page. There's a lot of really cool use cases for that. So for example, let's pretend I have an array of words. Okay, so const words equals cheese, bread, fun. Whoa. So what I do is, instead of showing params dot first, I'm going to say I want to show words and then grab something from words based on the index. So I'm going to expect that the first param is an index. So params dot first. So let's say I pass the number 1 as the key, bread, because bread is index 1. But if I pass an index 3, I get whoa, because it's grabbing the third thing in the array. So there's some fun ways you can really use that when constructing your site. So that way it's dynamic, and you can create dynamic links. So you would generate like link tags that dynamically link to the right URL to get the right results, which can be a lot of fun. Okay, so for example, if I were to take the same array and put this on the params page, actually let me put this on the other page. So we'll say on the other page, what we're going to do instead is I'm going to create a link for each of these words. So I'm going to say import link. So I import link from React Router DOM. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to map over the array. So words.map. Then for each word, okay, so for each word, what I want to do is return a div. And I'm going to want the index. So word index. So for each one of these, I want a div. So of course I'm going to give that div the key of index. And then what I want is to do like a link tag, a link to, and I'll pass a dynamic URL. So I'm going to say the link it's going to link to is use backticks / params / then the index. So we'll interpolate the index, so that way that's part of the URL, and then / the word, because I need to put something else in there. Word, that's what it's going to link to. And then what the link is going to be an H2 with the word. Okay, because I'm mapping over the array of words, so I have the word and index on each loop. Okay, save. So now if I go to other, see there's this link, there's these links, and if I look at if I hover over them, I see the links 1, 0, 1, 2. So if I click on fun, it takes me to the page. Should take me to the page where it shows fun. So why didn't it not? Console lags params dot first. Try that again. Why did it not? Words params dot first. We console log params again. Oh, I think I see what I did. Params to, because I think the actual, yeah, it's param, not params. So I need to fix the URL. So let's go back to other, and this should be param. There we go, because it's got to be an exact match. So other, now if I click on fun, see it says fun. And if I go back to other, I get bread, bread. Cheese. So I can create these dynamic links that will allow me to generate lots of pages without, or what feels like a lot of pages without having to write like 50,000 components, just by thinking about like how can I dynamically use params to pass in the information I need to get what that particular page needs. So params can be super, super useful. So that's React Router. There's more to it. Read the React Router documentation, but with that, you definitely know enough to be dangerous. My name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Do join the Discord and Slack communities over there at devnursery.com to stay in touch. Have a great day. Enjoy. Do make sure to add me on LinkedIn or follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Alex Merced Coder, etc. So I'll see you all later.